Right, morning. Short date and learn objective, please. Pause the video while you're doing that, then press play, and we'll start the lesson. Right, okay, so moving on to scales today. Now, really, all a scale is a scale, and you get them when you weigh yourself, when you're measuring, if you're measuring the amount of liquid or something going into a recipe. Things like that. So they're used all the time. Weighing scales are used all the time, okay? And different types of scales are used all the time. But in fact, all it is a number line. All it is basically is a number line split into different parts. So say, for example, this is a number line, and this is 0, and this is 1 meter. Okay, 1 meter. Okay, now I'm going to turn that meter just to make it easy for me, and then I have to work out what these bits are in between. To make it easy for me, I'm just going to call that 100 centimeters. Okay, so it's 1 0 to 100. Okay, so what I need to do is to find out what each of these sections are worth. Now I think the easiest one with this one, if you've got something which is definitely in the middle, and not all scales will have a middle, by the way, I know halfway between 0 and 100 is 50. So that will be 50. And then I know halfway between 0 and 50 is 25. And halfway between 50 and 100 is 75. So I can put in the numbers on the scale. Okay, the numbers on the scale. And the sort of questions you have like arrows pointing at various ones. So you have to, I think the best way is just to fill in some of the numbers in the scale in order to answer them, but we'll show you more of those. I'll show you more of those in a little while. Okay, so let's have a little look at another one. So say, for example, it's we got 0 here, and it's a weighing scales, and you got 400 grams here. So again, nice and easily you can tell that halfway between 0 and 400 is 200. Okay, and then halfway between 0 and 200 is 100. 300. So you can fill it in, nice and straightforward, those sort of questions. And a lot of them are, some of the stuff is fairly straightforward, but some it does get a bit trickier. Let's have a look. 0 to 500. Now I'm just going to show you another way. Say, for example, I didn't have a middle one here. I can work out what each one of these are. Okay, now the difference between 0 and 500 is 500. Okay, I'm going to divide that by the amount of spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I do 500 divided by 4. 1, remainder 1, 2, remainder 2, 125. So that tells me by dividing the difference between these two numbers by the amount of spaces, I can find what each individual one is worth. Okay, and we'll do more of that as we move on. Okay. So here I know that this is going to be 125 because each one is 125. That means that's going to be 250. So I do my 125 times table, 375. So I've got 500 grams, 250 grams, 375 grams. Okay. They don't have to start at 0. Okay, they do not have to start at 0. So say, for example, we've got this is between 20 grams and 30 grams. Okay, so probably the easiest way to do this again is to find the halfway. The halfway here is 25 grams. And then halfway between 20 grams and 25 grams is 22.5 grams, isn't it? And then halfway between 25 and 30, 27.5 grams. Okay. Right. Very often scales will look more like this, isn't it? Okay, they look more like that. Okay, and these are sort of, and again, so say, for example, you've got 0 kilograms here, and you've got 5 kilograms here. Okay, and you want to know where each one is. Now, this would be the halfway mark. So we haven't got a nice half. So let's have a look. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. Okay, so it's 5 kilograms divided by 5 sections. So that means each one is worth 1 kilogram. And you always just check, is this going to be correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've split them in there. And actually then you might be asked to do that one. Okay, what would this point here be? It's between 0 and 1 kilogram. Okay, 0 and 1 kilogram. I'll give you a clue, 1,000 grams in a kilogram. So this is going to be 500 grams, isn't it? 500 grams, okay. And we'll do more where we're splitting them up into different parts later, okay. Right, you could have one where you've got, this is 0 kilograms and this is 1 kilogram. It's probably easier for me to turn the 1 kilogram into 1,000 grams for this, okay. You can convert to make it easier for yourself. So again, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So I've got 1,000 grams. And I want to divide that into 5 sections, 200 grams each. So that tells me each of these sections is worth 200 grams. 200, 400, 600, 800. Okay. Right. And then we can build it up from there. So then we can have these in here. Okay, now these will be the hundreds in between, isn't it? So it will be between 0 and 200 is 100, between 200 and 400 is 300. So it's just really a number line, and we can see this is the halfway part, 500, isn't it? And so on, and we would build it up. And then you might be asked something like, what is this point here? Okay, what is that point there? Well, it's halfway between 200 and 300 grams, so that would be 250 grams, isn't it? Okay, and so on. Okay, right. Let's have a look through some practice questions before we go through. Before you have a go yourself. So the sort of work you have on this, hopefully this is clearer enough on the screen for you. Is this sort of thing, okay? Is this type of thing where you've got a scale and you have to find the different points. So first of all, I'm going to go from 0 to 200, and this is my halfway mark. Let me just check. 1, 2, yeah, halfway mark. So that's going to be 100 grams, isn't it? 100 grams there. And then from 0 to 100, this is halfway. So that's going to be 50 grams, okay? And then again, I'm going to fill this one in here from 100 to 200. That's going to be 150. So I'm going to put that in first. And this then is between 100 and 550. So halfway between that, 125 grams. And we could, if we wanted to, do them all the way through, isn't it? They're going up in 25 grams, each of these small sections. And let's just do the calculation for that, okay? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gaps. We divide that by between 0 and 200. So that's 0, carry the 2, 2 carry the 4, 25. So that tells me each of these spaces is worth 25. Okay. Let's have a look at this next one. Okay. Again, 0 to 1 litre. So I know straight away, I think it's probably worth me putting these into 1,000 milliliters. Okay, 1,000 milliliters. So this is going to be 500 milliliters. I'm going to halfway between 0 and 500 is 250 milliliters. Then I have to find halfway to find this one. Halfway between 0 and 250. Okay, so if you want to do a written method, you just divide that by 2. Okay, don't be afraid to do that. So it comes to 125 milliliters. And the same here, halfway between 500 and 1,000, 750 milliliters. Okay. So look here, so between 0 and 2, so I know straight away this is 1 litre. Okay. Or I can call it, of course, 1,000 milliliters, and that's 2,000 milliliters. Now from there, now this gets a little bit tricky because look, between 0 and 1,000, I haven't got a halfway mark. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different spaces. 5 different spaces. So I've got 1,000 milliliters from there to there and 5 spaces to fill. It gives me each one is 200. I'm just going to check. 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000. Yes, everyone is 200 meters. So it's 200, 400, 600. That one's 800 milliliters, isn't it? And this is 1000, 1200, 1400 milliliters. Okay. Let's have a look at this one. Okay, so we've got 0 to 50 milliliters. The halfway here is therefore going to be 25. And again, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I can work it out from that, can't I? 25 divided by the 5 spaces. Okay, let's move on to some trickier ones. Right, okay, let's just jump straight onto these actually. Okay, so it's just more lines, but it's exactly the same way to go about it. Okay, we've got 0, 1 litre, which is also 1000 milliliters. So we find the halfway mark, 500 milliliters. Halfway between 0 and 500, 250 milliliters. So we got that one here. So we got those marked there. And if we wanted to know what each one of these is worth, okay, between 0 and 25. So if I wanted to know what this mark is here, we're going to make it even harder. Between 0 and 250, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces. So between 0 and 250, so that's 250 divided by the 10 spaces gives me 25 in each space, okay? So that's 25, 50, 75. So that one would be 75 milliliters. So we can go into much more detail with it, okay? Let's have a look here. So again, between 0 and 500, let's go, we know halfway between that. And if you can't do that in your head, you just divide by 2. Okay, don't be afraid to do the written method. Okay, 250. Okay, so that would be 250. And again, it gets a bit trickier from here because, yeah, because then we're going to half the 250. And again, if you can't do that in your head, 250 divided by 2, halve it. Okay, 125. And again, so we can work out what these smaller ones are here. We can work, yeah, so it gets a bit tricky when we get those really small ones. Okay, but it's again, it's just treating it as a normal number line. Okay. Right, let's have a look here. So it's asking us for the slightly trickier ones rather than the easy ones, but we just do the same method between 0 and 1500. So from here, then from 0 to 500, this is halfway between, isn't it? So halfway between 0 and 500, so that's 500 divided by 2, that's not, yeah, which is 250. And now I find halfway between 0 and 250, 125 milliliters. Now I know each one of these is worth 125, so this is going to be 250, 500, 750, and then another 125, 875 milliliters. I'm going through this a bit quickly. Again, I wouldn't expect you to work these out as fast, but just follow these same patterns, okay? Now, let's have a look. 1, 2, we'll do this slightly differently, okay? Because, so on this one, we've got 2 liters. I want to find out what each one of these is worth, okay, without finding the halfway, because I know for some of the questions there's no halfway. So I've got big sections. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 sections, okay, and I'm going to divide that by 2000 milliliters between 0 and 2 liters. So I'm going to just turn that into 2000 milliliters. 200, so that would be 2, carry the 4, 5, 0. So each one is worth 250 milliliters. So that's 250 milliliters. That's 500 milliliters. Okay. That will be 750 milliliters. That's 1,000 milliliters, and that's halfway, isn't it? So that's going to be 1,250 milliliters. So you can work out what each gap is worth by dividing the amount of the difference between the two numbers divided by the amount of gaps. Okay, last couple, then you can have a go yourself. So all these ones are starting naught, and I think most of the ones you're doing start at naught as well. I'm just going to find the halfway here, 250. Now it's a bit tricky to find these from 250. Let's have a look. I'm going from naught to 250. It's no halfway mark here. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gaps. 5 gaps. And I'm going from naught to 250. 250 divided by 5, naught, 50. So each one is with 50, and that's 50 milliliters. 50, 100, 150, 200, 250. Let me just check. Yes, that's right, isn't it? Okay, 50, 100 was 150 milliliters. That therefore will be another 50, which will be 300 milliliters. And if we carried on, 350, 400, 455. It makes sense, doesn't it? Okay. Right, last one before we have a go ourselves, and this is a similar sort of question to the last one. So this is, I think we can find the halfway here is 1 liter, which is also 1,000 milliliters. Okay, 1,000 milliliters. So to go from naught to 1,000, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gaps. I've got 5 gaps. So that's 1,000 milliliters divided by the 5 gaps, and that will give me 200 milliliters per gap. Okay, let me just check. 200, 400, 600, 800. Yes, 1,000. So that means this one is 800 milliliters, and then I got 200, 400, 600. So that's 1,600 milliliters. Okay, right. So just make sure when you come to do the work, you're treating the scales like a number line. Okay, use the methods shown to find the gaps for the calculations, and where you can't find the halfway, and just sort of use a variety of methods, and just check through your answers in the end. Yeah, so just check you're correct with it. Okay, now the questions I'd like us to do, hang on, could we work on page 49 today? Page 49, could we do questions 1 to 10, please? Questions 1 to 10, and then the extension, if you've got time, is question 11. Okay, it's a nice extension actually. I think you can look at different noise levels in different classes if you want to with that one, different classes. So for example, if you're in cookery class, you'll be doing it'll be a lot noisy. But anyway, that's today's work. Good luck with that, everyone. Okay, cheers, bye bye.